Let's bring in our panel to tackle all of this. Misty, NBC News legal analyst, and Zachary Shemtaub, executive editor of the SCOTUS blog. Great to see you both. Thank you so much for being with us. Let's start with the Birthright Citizenship. Here's how the Speaker of the House reacted to the news real fast.
Some are implying that or suggesting that it may require a constitutional amendment, and as you know, that is a large undertaking. But clearly, birthright citizenship has been abused.
Okay, Misty, how much of a blow is this ruling to Trump's immigration agenda, and is there any legal avenue or legislative avenue for Trump to take here?
Well, so now the Supreme Court has reaffirmed what has been the law since 1868, saying that birthright citizenship stays in place, interpreting the critical language and subject to the jurisdiction thereof to mean that individuals who are born on U.S. soil are citizens. Now, Gotti, we're hearing what the speaker just said, as well as Trump in a post on Truth Social today, talking about whether or not there could be legislation, is really mirroring something Justice Kavanaugh, who agreed with the outcome of the case, but for a different reason. Kavanaugh said the only reason this executive order is illegal is because it's at odds with legislation. The Naturalization Act of 1940 and 1952, not because it violates the 14th Amendment. So that is the avenue that I believe they're referring to say that this could be changed by legislation that Congress could act. And that seems to be what's being parroted by the president today on Truth Social.
And Zachary, usually when we hear a 6-3 decision, it's usually an indication of the conservative nature of the court. And yet today is a little bit different. What does this ruling tell us about how the court sees not just this, but presidential power beyond?
So it shows you that the court is complicated. It's very common to say that there's this 6-3 ideological split with the Republican appointees on one side and the Democrat appointees on the other. This case shows that that is not always the case, even in major decisions like this one, where you had in the majority Justice Barrett and Chief Justice Roberts, and then Kavanaugh also voting along with them, although on different grounds. And then in the dissent, you had Thomas, Alito, and Gorsuch. So if anything, this shows that it's not a court that on every decision, and major decisions as well, are just going to agree to expand presidential power or agree with President Trump.
And yet, Misty, the High Court also upheld state laws that ban trans girls and women from competing in school athletic teams. Break that down for us, because that's the old 6-3 that we're used to, right?
Right. So we had two states that had laws banning trans individuals from competing on women's and girls sports teams, and the court found that those laws did not violate Title IX, which prevents discrimination based on gender in federally funded educational institutions, as well as under the 14th Amendment, the Equal Protection Clause. And so, Gotti, what this does is pave the way for some 27 states around the country who now have the green light to move forward with similarly structured statutes relating to that issue. So the court did find in favor of the states on that one.
And Zachary, the court also struck down that 25-year-old decision that limited political party spending, right? What are the details of that decision, and what kind of impacts could we see in November?
Incredibly complicated, as all campaign finance decisions are. So this was a challenge to a federal law limiting the amount of money that political parties can spend in coordination with a candidate for office. So the court said that that violated the First Amendment and, in fact, overturned a previous decision in doing that. So basically loosened the gates more in terms of campaign spending. And then you had a very passionate dissent from Justice Kagan saying that this is going to usher in opportunities for quid pro quo corruption that the contribution limits here were meant to check. The majority had a very different view and said that, no, these could be handled in other ways. In terms of the implications, right now, it's hard to say. Obviously, it will lead to more spending, especially with the political parties. But in terms of the ultimate impact that will have, it's very hard to predict, although we will certainly see in the next few months as we rev up for the midterms.
Yeah, only time will tell. Misty Maris, Zachary Shemtaub, thank you so much for being with us.